The gym was decorated with silver streamers and twinkling lights. But Marcus Washington stood in the hospital corridor, his worn sneakers squeaking against the linoleum floor, knowing he'd never see them. His scholarship covered tuition, but there was nothing left for a homecoming ticket, let alone the suit he'd need to wear. He'd made peace with it, or so he told himself, until he saw Sarah Chen pushing a medication cart down the hallway, her scrubs wrinkled from a double shift, humming softly to herself as if the fluorescent lights above were stars. Marcus had been coming to County General Hospital for 3 months now, ever since his mother's diagnosis, stage 3 breast cancer. The words still felt like broken glass in his throat. He was 20 years old, a junior at State University, and every spare moment, between classes and his part-time job at the campus library, was spent in this building that smelled of antiseptic and cafeteria coffee. Sarah was different from the other nurses. She never rushed past his mother's room. She never spoke in that pitying voice that made Marcus want to disappear into the walls. She treated his mother like a person, not a patient. She remembered that Diane Washington loved old Motown songs and would sometimes sing along softly while checking vitals. She brought extra blankets without being asked. She stayed 5 minutes past her shift to hear the end of his mother's stories about Marcus as a little boy. "Your mom's resting well today," Sarah said, noticing Marcus in the hallway. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and there were tired shadows under her eyes. But her smile was genuine. She ate all her lunch. "That's a good sign." Marcus nodded, relief flooding through him. "Thank you." "For everything you do." "I know you don't have to." "Yes, I do," Sarah interrupted gently. "It's not just my job. Your mom is special." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, and Marcus noticed the way Sarah absently rubbed her lower back, the way her shoulders sagged just slightly. She looked young, maybe only a few years older than him, but she carried herself with a weariness that spoke of long hours and emotional burdens. "When's the last time you took a break?" Marcus asked. Sarah laughed, a tired sound. "What's a break?" "I'm serious. You're here every time I visit. That can't be healthy," says the young man who's here every day while juggling a full course load. Sarah countered, but there was warmth in her voice, not defensiveness. Marcus shifted his backpack on his shoulder. "I wish I could do something for you. To thank you for taking such good care of my mom." The words were out before he could think them through, and suddenly his heart was pounding. The homecoming dance was 3 weeks away. He couldn't afford to go himself. But maybe he could give Sarah something she probably never gave herself. An evening away from these walls. "Actually," he said, his voice cracking slightly with nerves, "this might sound crazy, but my university is having a homecoming dance. I know it's probably not your scene, and I can't afford to go myself. But I have a friend who gave me 2 tickets he can't use, and I thought, maybe you'd like to take a friend. Get dressed up, forget about bedpans and IV drips for a few hours." It was a lie, but a harmless one. Marcus had already decided he'd sell his textbooks if he had to. He'd figure out how to get those tickets. Sarah's eyes widened. "Marcus, I couldn't." "Please," he said. "You give so much to everyone else. Let someone give something to you." She studied him for a long moment, and Marcus saw something flicker across her face. Surprise, maybe, or something deeper. "Can I think about it?" "Of course." He tried to hide his disappointment. She was probably too busy, too tired, too sensible to waste time on a college dance. But 2 days later, Sarah found him in his mother's room. "I'll go," she said quietly, "but only if you come with me. I don't know anyone at your school, and it seems like you could use a night off, too." Marcus's throat tightened. "I told you I can't afford—" "I have the tickets," Sarah said firmly. "My roommate's boyfriend goes to State. He gave them to her. But she has to work that night, so we're both using free tickets and we're both going to have a good time. Deal?" It was another lie, Marcus suspected, but looking at her earnest face, he couldn't refuse. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of midterms and hospital visits and one terrifying trip to a thrift store where Marcus found a suit jacket that almost fit. His mother was having a good week, her spirits lifted by the upcoming dance. "You bring me pictures," she insisted. "And you better treat that girl right. She's an angel." The night of the dance, Marcus waited outside the gym in his thrift store suit. his palms sweating despite the October chill. When Sarah arrived, he almost didn't recognize her. She wore a simple navy dress that somehow made her look both elegant and comfortable, and her hair fell loose around her shoulders instead of pulled back in its usual bun. She looked beautiful, but more than that, she looked happy. "You clean up pretty well," she said with a grin. "You too," Marcus managed. Inside, the gym had been transformed. The decorations were more elaborate than Marcus expected. Apparently, the student activities budget had been generous this year. They danced to pop songs and raided the refreshment table and talked about everything except hospitals and sickness and fear. "Why nursing?" Marcus asked as they swayed to a slow song, maintaining a respectful distance. "My grandmother," Sarah said. "She spent the last year of her life in a facility where the staff barely looked at her. She was just a room number, a set of tasks to complete. I decided I never wanted anyone to feel that invisible." "Your family must be proud." Something complicated crossed Sarah's face. "It's not what they expected." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, there was a commotion near the entrance. A group of well-dressed adults had entered the gym, clearly not students. At the center was an older Asian man in an expensive suit, flanked by two people who looked like assistants or bodyguards. The music stuttered to a stop. Marcus felt Sarah stiffen beside him. "Sarah!" The man's voice carried across the gym. "There you are." "Dad?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. The man crossed the gym floor with purpose, and the crowd parted. Marcus's mind was racing, trying to understand what was happening. "Sarah's father here?" "Your mother and I have been calling you all day," the man said when he reached them. His tone was controlled but tense. "You missed the charity gala. The Johnsons were asking for you." "I told you I couldn't make it," Sarah said quietly. "I had plans." "Plans?" The man looked around the gym, his expression making it clear what he thought of the decorations and the college students. Then his gaze landed on Marcus, still standing beside Sarah. "Is this what you've been doing instead of—" "Dad, stop!" Sarah's voice was firmer now. "This is Marcus Washington. His mother is my patient. Marcus, this is my father, Robert Chen." The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. Robert Chen, CEO of Chen Industries, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the country. He'd seen the name in the hospital on medical equipment. On the wing of the building his mother's room was in, Chen Oncology Center. "Your daughter is an incredible nurse," Marcus said, finding his voice. "She's made my mother's treatment bearable. She's made all the difference." Robert Chen's expression didn't soften. "My daughter is meant for more than bedpans and night shifts. She has a Harvard MBA. She should be in the boardroom, not—" "Not helping people?" Sarah interrupted. "Not doing something that actually matters?" "You could help thousands of people by running the company," Robert said. "Instead, I'm helping the people right in front of me," Sarah said. "The ones who don't have galas in their honor or wings of hospitals named after them. I'm helping the Diane Washingtons of the world who are fighting for their lives and can't afford the medications. Your company patents." The silence in the gym was absolute. Marcus realized the entire student body was watching this family drama unfold. "We'll discuss this at home," Robert Chen said finally, his voice tight. "No." Sarah took a step closer to Marcus, not touching him but making her choice clear. "I'm staying. I'm finishing my evening with my friend. You can be disappointed in me if you want, but I'm not apologizing for choosing a life that has meaning to me." For a long moment, father and daughter stared at each other. Then something shifted in Robert Chen's face. He looked at Sarah, really looked at her, and Marcus saw him notice things he'd probably been missing. The happiness in her eyes, the confidence in her stance, the way she'd spoken up for herself and her choices. "Your mother's been worried," he said more softly. "I'll call her tomorrow," Sarah said. "But tonight I'm here." Robert Chen glanced at Marcus again, and this time his gaze was appraising rather than dismissive. "You're Diane Washington's son?" "Yes, sir." "Your mother is in the Chen Oncology Center. Room 417. "Yes, sir." "The experimental drug trial starting next month, the one for advanced breast cancer patients. I'll make sure she's included if her doctors think she's a candidate. No charge." Marcus's breath caught. He'd heard about the trial, promising results, but astronomically expensive even with insurance. "Sir, I can't. That's too much." "It's not charity," Robert Chen said. It's recognition of the fact that my daughter sees value where I've been blind to it. He looked at Sarah again. We can talk more this weekend, if you're willing. Sarah nodded slowly. I'm willing. After Robert Chen left, the DJ nervously restarted the music. Gradually, the normal dance atmosphere resumed, though Marcus could feel curious glances in their direction. I'm sorry, Sarah said. I should have told you. That you're an heiress who chose to work as a nurse? I'm not an heiress. I'm just Sarah. The money. The company? That's my father's world, not mine. I wanted to build something of my own. Something real. Marcus thought about his mother's face when Sarah sang Motown songs with her. He thought about the extra blankets and the gentle way. Sarah explained medical procedures so they weren't so frightening. He thought about how she'd agreed to come to this dance. With a broke college student. She barely knew. Just because he'd asked. You did build something real, Marcus said. You built trust, hope, kindness. Those things are worth more than any pharmaceutical empire. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. For seeing me. Not my last name or my background, just me. Thank you for seeing my mom the same way, Marcus said. And for giving me this night. I know you bought those tickets, by the way. My friend's girlfriend told me. Sarah laughed through her tears. I know you sold your textbooks to plan to buy tickets. Your study partner told me when I was checking on your mom. They looked at each other and started laughing. The absurdity and beauty of it all washing over them. So we're both terrible liars trying to give things to each other, Marcus said. Looks like it. Want to dance anyway? I'd love to. As they moved back onto the dance floor, Marcus realized that this night had become something neither of them had planned. It wasn't a fairy tale about a poor student and a secret heiress. It was something better. A story about two people who chose to see past, circumstances and titles to the humanity underneath. Sarah had walked away from a fortune to hold the hands of the dying. Marcus had scraped together every penny. He didn't have to give one tired nurse a night off. 6 months later, Marcus's mother would enter remission, thanks partly to that experimental drug trial. Sarah would continue working at County General, but her father, who visited the hospital more often, now would start a program offering reduced-cost medications to low-income patients, inspired by seeing the world through his daughter's eyes. And Marcus and Sarah would remain close friends, bound by that night when a simple invitation to a dance became a lesson in what it means to truly see and value another person. The dance ended at midnight, but the connection they'd formed, built on genuine respect, shared values, and the courage to be exactly who they were, would last much longer. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone isn't money or status or even a ticket to a dance. Sometimes it's simply the recognition of their worth, freely given with no expectation of return. And sometimes that recognition changes everything.